In the previous video, I talked about what Baruch Spinoza tells us is where the line between freedom of speech and sedition is. Now, in the same chapter, I decided to do this as a separate video. He talks about the impact of curtailing the right to speech. Like what can go wrong if the state decides they are going to stop people from saying what they or thinking what they like and saying what they think. He says a lot can go wrong in the state, and in fact, by curtailing the right to speech, the state it's making itself, weakening itself so that it can so easily collapse. He says because what happens when the freedom of speech is curtailed, and I need to mention that in this chapter, his argument for the respect of freedom of speech is based on his view that the religious ecclesiastics, he calls them, the religious leaders, were using the state to curtail freedom of speech so that people cannot talk about some topics, especially regarding religion and morals and things like that. So he says what happens when that is done, then the state falls into this situation where flattery and the evil, let me read, the negative impact of curtailing freedom of speech. Let me go further down. Men will daily be thinking one thing and saying another, to the corruption of good faith, that mainstay of government, and to the fostering of hateful flattery and perfidy, whence brings stratagems and corruption of every good art. Like when that is done, then honesty disappears from the public discourse. And when that happens, he says that that gives a chance to the evil ones, people who don't have evil, and he mentions people who are greedy for just money and wealth and material, to take over, because for those people, the truth, that doesn't matter. What matters is what works for them, to bring them so they can say whatever or not say whatever, just to get to power and to do whatever they want to do. So he says if you curtail freedom of speech, you are giving room to the evil people in society to take hold of power and to use it and to misuse it. So he says that's one of the things that can go wrong. Let me read some further. Men are generally considered the most prone to resent branding as criminal opinion. So let me not read that part, just explain it. He says when some opinions are categorized as illegal or criminal, but those ideas are not really morally wrong, but just that somebody wants to control the narrative, what happens? The upright people in society feel offended. And when they feel offended, then over time it becomes like disobeying the law is courage. Disobeying the law becomes something that is praised and something that people like. It no longer becomes something to be embarrassed about, to go against the law, because the general understanding is that there is something that should not be banned that has been banned by the law. Now that makes the law to be like, it's no longer about good and evil or immoral and moral. It now becomes like it's just deciding arbitrarily what should be made illegal and what should not be made illegal. And that makes people find it so easy to disobey the law, and that leads to anarchy. That is his argument. In the end, he does explain it so well in the chapter, how that can lead to the collapse of the state.